Hey there, everyone. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! Tuesday time. Hope you're ready for Yu-Gi-Oh! On a Tuesday. How we doing today, folks? How we doing? I've got a new monitor, so I can more easily see the chat, which is really nice. Also, it's a new monitor, like actually new, which means it's 1920 by 1080p. For those who don't know, previously my primary monitor was 1620 by 1080p. So now everything's a different size. When we get to the YouTube section, you'll definitely see a big change there. I had to rearrange everything, so there's going to be a little bit of changes to the setup. Ready for barbecue chicken quesadilla on a plate. Hell yeah, that sounds awesome. Vacation starts today. Kai, every story you tell about your work seems like you work in hell. Like actual literal hell with the Satan and the devil. So you deserve a vacation more than most people, I think. So glad you're having that. I'm doing all right. We went to Costco. That's where we got this monitor, by the way. Got a $100 monitor at Costco. It's curved. This is my first time having a curved monitor. It's first time having a 1920 by 1080p monitor. It's not a laptop. And I don't hate it. It's a little strange, but I don't hate it. It's more immersive. Oh, I'm going to be really immersed in this Yu-Gi-Oh! We're about to watch. But other than that, not much is different. Still waiting. I've added some stuff to my setup to help with the ergonomics. It'll hopefully mean my hand doesn't hurt as much anymore, but I'm still waiting to recover from the previous hand hurt. So... every day at work I get thrust to do a brand new circle they invented just for me. Yeah. I did make sure to get one that doesn't have a crazy curve to it. It's not a crazy curve. It's just a fairly subtle curve. So that helps. Yeah. I think we're ready to watch some Yu-Gi-Oh! How about you? Do you think you're ready? Today's going to be an interesting one because we've got a sort of kind of recap episode. It's like half recap and half not. And then the fucking Yaoi duel, Bakura versus Marik. And then Marik. And then the first episode of the Noah Kaiba arc. So it's kind of all over the place. But we're gonna do it. Let's get in there. Let's go. Okay, we're going off on a huge tangent here. It's crazy that these religious sects that eschew modern technology are just allowed to have like full-on mafias to enforce this in their communes. Very strange. Hold up. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, raiders. Morgan 95. Thank you for the raid. Welcome. You're playing Master Duel? What were you doing? What were you up to in Master Duel? We're watching the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, which is not exactly Master Duel, but where else am I going to put the category? Takahashi must have loved MC Escher. I wouldn't be surprised. Takahashi seems like a guy who really appreciates some strange art. Check Twitter. I just made something silly for you. Okay. Thank you for the follow. Sure. Twitter. Okay, I have not checked Twitter in forever. Where the fuck? Replay watching my Legends Anthology. Hell yeah. Cool. Made me into a card, a magic card. Oh, cool. That's awesome. That's cool. Thank you so much, Bifkin. Here, I'll retweet that. I don't use Twitter very often. I use Blue Sky now, but I will repost that. Awesome. Have a nice lurk. Flower Man at this time of day, at this time of year. Sorry. I've been listening to what is their I'm literally gonna pull it up right now because I don't remember. Someone did like an actual version of it where they sing the lyrics. Just Chai Tea. Thank you. Chai Tea version. It is fucking rocks. Toby is so goddamn good at music. I'm god fucking jealous. Ah. Anyways, back to Yu-Gi-Oh. But yeah, you could just use gift exchange to put whatever card you want face down banished and then access it with your cards. In D-Sun, it didn't matter as the cost to activate magical contract door. Here it actually loses the duel. Yeah. Spoilers. Marvelous entertainment. All right, we're going to take a quick ad break and we'll be right back with more of this duel and then a surprise guest. All right, see you in a second.
The mighty pyramids of Egypt, the stupendous hanging gardens of Babylon, the Colossus of Rhodes, the mammoth lighthouse of Alexandria, the giant tomb of King Mausolus, the towering temple of Diana, the enormous statue of Jupiter, and now, the eighth wonder of the world, King Kong. The most exciting original motion picture event of all time, King Kong. Rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
Okay, I'm back from rage baiting my cat. Let's She was in the way. I had to like chase her. I wasn't actually chasing her, but you know how cats are. Once you start moving behind them, they think you're chasing them. A card while you tribute summon a monster. Yeah, none of this stuff makes it into the VODs. The LC one. I could very easily do that. I've got to see what's going on with this. Come on, let me highlight it. Copy. I must know. I think the Doug one is skippable. It doesn't add much except he likes 7th Tachyon. I also like 7th Tachyon. I'm a little disappointed that it got points, but I also understand why it got points, so I'm not too beat up about it. He made a fucking... Is Ruxin trying to pivot away from Yu-Gi-Oh? Like, hold up. We usually only go over to this scene after we've gone to the ad break, but I need to show you this right now. I need to show you this. Is he trying to pivot away from Yu-Gi-Oh? What is going on here? 4 hours ago, 2K views. It's an ad for his whatnot, I guess. Because I don't see anything else in here. There's a ton of... Oh my god, how many fucking links does he have? Sign up for my website. Consignment. Magnificent Monsters pre-orders. Get them here at eBay. Non-bulk level submissions. Need a PC upgrade? Here on a Starforge. Dude. I see why every video has the hashtag ad. Look at this. He's more affiliate links. What the fuck? Is he just like all affiliate links? Get that bag. What the fuck is this? Is this like doing well for him? Is this doing well for him? It's only been 4 hours, so it's hard to tell. But like, this has been a day. It's a day old. It's got 18K views. 2 days, only 10. Wait. Hold up. Does Ruxin not get that many views? 11K, 15K, 27K on this one. It's head to head. I don't know, why would you collab with head to head? I don't know. Huh. I guess that's why he's been doing so many collaborations. His views seem to be not doing super well. Maybe this is just normal for him, though. No, they kind of seem to vary. Huh. His Master Duel series do not get a lot of views. Yeah. But, like, for what he pays, I guess he also makes a lot of his money on selling cards, right? I was like what the amount that he pays for shit, you can't get these views and pay for that, I don't think. But with all the other stuff he does, as far as buying and selling goes, he might be able to pay off that pretty well. I don't know. Wow, I thought he got more views than this, honestly. I legit thought he got more views than this. Not to, like, shame him or anything. I get less views than he does, right? Hell, here you go. Look. Only 200 views on this one. That one fucking bombed. But, like, I'm getting, like, 2K views on a lot of this stuff. But, like, 2K is not that far off of 10K. I thought he was way bigger than that. I don't know. Anyways, we're going to take a quick ad break, and then we'll start watching some stuff. Probably not this. Maybe? I don't know. I don't know. My opinion on Ruxin changed after he was how I realized Sima was dead before it was announced. Oopsie. But we'll definitely be watching this one. I think we'll be skipping the Doug one if that's pretty redundant. But we will be watching this one. Let me just... Oh, man. Oh, shit. The aquarium looks so good on a curved monitor. Dude, it's like I'm there. Fuck, that actually does look... the curved monitor is worth it just for this. Fuck. Okay, we're gonna be right back with this video. See you in a second, everyone. All right, folks, are you ready to watch this video? I'm ready to watch it. It's Genesis A Year in Review featuring Peeps, LC, and of course MBT. We're going to react to it. I love talking about Genesis format, so we're probably going to pause it a lot and have something crazy to say about it. If any of these people want to collab with me, I will always yap about Genesis format. I love talking about Genesis format. I've got a video essay coming up talking about Genesis format. Not in the near future, but in the nearish-ish future. Let's go. That is quiet. Let's turn that shit up.
Hello, everybody. And welcome back to another important discussion video on the MBT Yu-Gi-Oh channel. I consider myself a modern-day philosopher, like Socrates, Aristotle, and
True.
as a result, I am going to be discussing the most important seminal issue of our time, that is, of course, Genesis as a concept. For those of you that don't know, Genesis is an alternative way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! That was introduced about a year ago. It was introduced alongside a significant amount of
MBT's videos were better audio balanced.
Exciting updates about the future of the format. So today, we're going to take stock of what's happened in that year, what may happen in the future, and if they accomplished their goals. And to help me yap, I've got two professional yappers. First up, Peeps Yu-Gi-Oh!
Hello, everybody. Yes, as this is, as people call it, the yugioh format, we are going to talk about it. Hilarious criticism, by the way, but it is kind of funny. I can't.
Industry plant-ass motherfucker. And to help us talk about Genesis, we have the person from whom Genesis was stolen. LC is here, a Canadian Highlander player and Genesis toe dipper.
Yes, I have a lot of knowledge about one of these things and a very minimal amount of knowledge about it.
Do you notice LC's headset is like off balance? What is up with that?
Other one, but enough, I think, that I can engage in this conversation.
Wait, it's like
a reasonable
I
way,
see
and
it
can ask you
jiggling.
guys
It's like
questions,
balanced
obviously.
on his head. It's not actually clamping on
I'm
him.
really looking forward to this discussion because I really enjoy a lot of the content you've been putting out, as I already glazed you for earlier in this call. I just appreciate the macro level look on card design from a perspective of a player of many different TCGs.
LC's
So
great. I love LC's
have
stuff.
Enjoyed your content a lot.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen LC's channel, of course, it'll be linked in the description. You really should check it out. You can also check it out Wednesday on the MBT Yu-Gi-Oh! Twitch channel where we steal content. But first, this video is sponsored by Zombie Waves. This week, I've been grinding my eyes out trying to make
that's the
pumpkin work
volume.
in Master Duel, and it's just not happening. So I want to begin by talking about
Easy.
sort of the inaugural post that kicked off Genesis.
That was a
This came
one
out
shot, by the way.
September
Didn't even have
24th
to.
of
I just instantly
2025,
got
but I
that.
believe it was a
Bam.
couple days after the
No more ad.
actual physical announcement. So in this post, Konami revealed this new format, Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis, and set out the rules, which are strikingly similar to a Magic the Gathering format, Canadian Highlander. But they also set out some goals under this What's Next section that I think are pretty interesting. So let's begin by talking about the Who It's For section of this article. So I'm just going to read that out here. It says, Genesis was designed for everyone, but is mostly meant as a big tent to provide good and fun home for all sorts of duelists.
This is really
looking for a
interesting
less
because
complicated
LC
game.
went
Duelists who are
over
new to
this
the
in a
game.
video and
Duelists who have
really
had a favorite deck
criticized
and
some
want
of
their
the
favorite deck to
like
be a little more
the fact that you can't really make a format that appeals to all these different
competitive.
audiences.
Anyone
with the way
looking
that
for
they've
new
gone about it.
experience or change of pace, duelists who love a deck building challenge, and everyone who just can't get enough dueling.
Like you can't
So a
have a
couple of
deck building people who love a deck building challenge and newcomers, right?
Those are like Genesis is for, like breathing sentient adults, right? Like that's, a crazy crossover here. But there are a couple shout outs there that I don't know if I agree with respect to the target audience and what the format's accomplished. So I guess I'll start with Jordan. Do you want to talk a little bit about if Genesis was able to deliver on these?
I guess I'll start from the top of the list, which is duelists looking for a less complicated game. The answer is yes. Like, I know Yu-Gi-Oh! Is complex by nature, but the very fact that Link monsters aren't in the format, and like pendulums as well, but Link monsters a big one, means there's not a bunch of hidden text on every effect monster in the game. This is something that I've used to talk about with respect to something like IP Masquerena or SP Little Knight. Even though SP Little Knight is like a really balanced and fine card, it just makes it so every effect monster in the game also says you can send this effect monster and one other effect monster you control to the graveyard to special summon SP Little Knight. Like, every monster just has additional text on it.
It requires a lot of ball knowledge that regular Genesis format doesn't require
to the existence
as
of
much.
links. So just by
Because like this is true. SP Little Knight not existing in the format means that you can't have you can send this card and one other card. But like, as he said, yeah, correct. But also, every card in the format is like, you could send this card and another card at the same level to the grave to make this other guy, right? Well, not to the grave, obviously, but like, the inherent way the extra deck, he's describing how the extra deck works as a concept. So I get where he's coming from, And he's correct, but the way he's arguing it is, I always say this, I agree with him, but the way he's arguing it is bad.
Sure, the first bullet point is true. Duelists who are new to the game, I don't think this one really attributes to that one at all.
No,
I'd like
no.
to kick this one over to Elsie as someone who is newer to Yu-Gi-Oh! Did you feel like hopping into something like Genesis with an additional ban list with 1 trillion cards on it was more daunting, presented like an interesting challenge or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting that you think they succeeded on Duelists looking for a less complicated game, because I was actually going to say that I think it doesn't succeed on that front. Yes, in gameplay, Genesis is simpler because of the things that you mentioned. I think that's true. But the deck building component is like much more.
But again, it's simpler because they cut the card pool. I don't think anything is actually, well, and they cut the extra monster zone. I'm going to get into the extra monster zone in my video, so I won't talk about that right now. But like the main thing is that they cut the card pool, and that makes the game simpler. As you print more cards, it's going to be it's always going to be simpler than the main game because you don't have link monsters or pendulum monsters, but it will acquire the complexity that the main game had, several years ago or something like that.
Enthusiast level and complicated. So I think that I don't know that I necessarily think they failed, but I think it's kind of a push. I think for players who just like pull a deck list from somewhere and show up to a tournament and play, yes, the game-to-game interactions are probably less complicated. But if you're like looking to get into it from the outset, it's a really daunting process to look at this list of 100 points to start to unpack like exactly what actually matters. And it's interesting, when I got into Yu-Gi-Oh, Genesis was like one of the things where I was like, oh, this is cool. I'd love to play an officially supported pointed format, like points managed format. And I very quickly realized that like I was going to need to go play like hundreds of hours of Advanced before I was going to be able to engage in the deck building portion of Genesis. At least I think had Genesis been,
you need to understand,
Master,
you really need to understand the cards before you can actually get into deck building in Genesis, more so than Advanced. In Advanced, some of these decks just build themselves. In Genesis, you really have to understand what you're doing before you can start deck building because of the point system.
Just like gone to a website, picked up a deck list, like crafted it and started playing. Like, yeah, it would have been more accessible, but I think that the trade-off there is that like the deck building complexity does start to push it more towards the kind of enthusiast level of things.
I can capitulate to that. I think that makes sense. Yeah.
It is kind of weird. I think we as lifelong Yu-Gi-Oh players enter this discussion with sort of an understanding that the deck building process in Yu-Gi-Oh largely doesn't exist. Like, when we talk about a less complicated game, we default to thinking about the in-game interactions because so much of Yu-Gi-Oh is like, time to find a list online to net deck and just like walk with it, right? But I do agree that like building this deck, it would be a nightmare if I were newer to the game and didn't have like an encyclopedic understanding of what was on the list and what it meant for a card to be at like 4 rather than 5, right?
And I think there's more matchup win percent to kind of like squeeze out of deck building in something like Genesis than there is in Advanced. Like I played like a suboptimal build of like Mitsurugi Fiendsmith for like the first like 2 months that I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And like, yeah, I probably could have gotten like 2 or 3%, maybe even like 5 or 6% win rate for play if I played like a slightly more optimized version with better non-engine. But in Genesis, I think that like there's a real opportunity to get significant deck building advantage. And that's something that's a lot harder to access as an
like there's I think part of that comes from the fact that Genesis isn't a solved format. Advanced format is often solved before it even comes here. Not always, but oftentimes the format is actually solved before it ever arrives to our shores. But Genesis is just chronically unsolved. And like people still, I see debates. I see people with differing opinions. I don't know if I actually see people debating it because that would require more people to talk about Genesis than are currently talking about Genesis. But I often see differing opinions on the value of non-engine versus engine in Genesis. Is it better to spend your points on more engines, plural, to bolster your plays? Or is it better to spend your points on powerful non-engine? Which powerful non-engine should you be running, right? Is it worth running Fuelos, for instance? Is Fuelos good in Genesis right now? Could it be good in the future? It could probably be good in the future. Is it good right now? That's a harder question, right? What is the right stuff to be running in the side deck? Right now, a lot of people are running stuff like Eye of Truth for Blitzclick. But if you go to the tournaments and you look at, what is the most recent? Montreal. I want to look at Montreal. How much Blitzclick is in here? We've got one in top 2, 2 in top 4, 4 in top 8, 6 in top 16. 6 in top 32. So, if you're looking at top 8, that's half of the decks. If you're looking at top 32, though, it's like how much can you prepare for just, and like you can prepare for Blitzclick, right? But if you prepare for Blitzclick, are you prepared for White Forest, the number 2 deck, the runner-up? Are you prepared for Radiant Typhoon? You probably should be. Are you prepared for Draco Tail? Draco Tail is a really powerful deck. Out of Characters hosed me on it with my Speedroid deck this weekend. I played on his stream. Are you prepared for Invoked? You should be. Invoked is a good deck. Are you prepared for Sacred Beast? Should you be prepared for Sacred Beast? Because I only see one Sacred Beast in all of top 32. It was a really good deck just a little while ago, but now it's being hated out of the format because the same things that hit Blitzclick can hit Sacred Beast as well. Like a lot of the same stuff. Are you being prepared for Fairy Tail, Fire King, Heckahands, Mimighoul, Dark Lord? Like, there's just so much. There's so much to prepare for that you cannot possibly prepare for everything. So you have to pick what, like, Blitzclick is probably the best thing to be prepared for in your side decking, like for Silver Bullets wise. But like, it's just an area that has not been super well explored, I feel like.
Player.
Yeah, I agree.
It's strange to be like, it is, in that regard, very difficult for entrenched Yu-Gi-Oh players to engage with, because I know a significant amount of Yu-Gi-Oh players just do not engage with deck building at all. And there was, not to go off
just
on a
strange to me.
tangent,
I
but
love deck
there's
building.
like this Jesse Cotton video where he's talking about his main deck and he's playing 3 Fenrir. And he's like, I would ask you, can you identify why Fenrir is in this slot over a different piece of non-engine? And like everyone was like, not really, no. It's just a card you want to see. And he's like, well, that's not, there's theory behind this that you have to be able to understand.
That's such a good point, and I'm happy you push back on what I said with this point, true, too, because something that I think when we say people don't engage with deck building, it comes off as like an admonishment or an insult. It sounds very pious when we say that. But I certainly don't mean it that way. And
No.
it has frustrated me in the past when people will operate off the, criticisms based on the fact that they don't engage in deck building. But still, I get it though. Like, so much of Yu-Gi-Oh's history, especially in the TCG, has been, we see the new cards that come out in the OCG. We make our format assessments off of those cards. We already know what the deck was supposed to do or what other people have done with the deck months upon months upon months before we get it. And then we get it here, and people already know what the format's going to look like. Unless, once we get those new cards, somebody has figured something out, and then everybody else just goes down that route instead. I think a great example is in Power of the Elements format. Elsie, I'm going to talk about some TCG history, so sorry, a little out of your depth here. But
it's okay,
Joseph
I like
will know what
learning.
I'm talking about. Yeah. So, actually, that's a good point. You do find this stuff interesting. So Power of the Elements format, Joseph, you'll remember, what was supposed to be the best deck in that format when it came over here?
Sprite.
On release, it was supposed to be Sprite, like quite literally 100.
Like, Tier Limit was supposed to be, like, way behind Sprite. Do you remember that? Sprite was supposed to be the best deck.
percent like representation in Top Cut.
Yeah.
Tier Limit was too inconsistent. Still a little upset the OCG destroyed the dream of a global Genesis format. It is really annoying.
It was supposed to be Sprite because Sprite, had like a bunch of level 2s. It could search.
I just realized I didn't actually turn
There's
this.
a ton of different interactions that we already knew about that the OCG was doing.
Right.
What actually turned out to be the best deck, I don't know if it like percentage wise, but people made the
Let's do
evaluation that
1.25
Danger Tier Limit
speed.
was in our format.
MBT
much better.
speaks
I don't
too
know if it
fast for
converted as much,
1.5.
but it was certainly the better deck. It was difficult to play.
But even in spite of those things, people figured out Danger Tier Limit was good, and then people just switched to building the top Danger Tier Limit lists.
And yeah, that was,
there's nothing wrong
and then
with
that was Casino Tier, and then the Ishizu cards came
There's
out.
nothing wrong with net decking. There's nothing wrong with playing the best deck or anything like that. But the process of deck building just has not existed really in people's minds so much over on our side.
Like we found out
So-
even
So a
Casino
format like this
Casino
is
Tier was better than
asking you to
Sprite.
not only like re-entrench yourself into Yu-Gi-Oh, but engage with a thing in Yu-Gi-Oh that so few players even have the vocabulary to deal with. No, I do think that makes it a lot more complicated. I know a lot of people who have been like, I'll play Genesis, just hand me a list, but won't play it otherwise.
At the same time, like the deck building portion is to me like some of the most like inspirational and fun portion
It's
of
so much
playing
fucking fun.
TCG.
It's so much fun.
It's good.
And like it's interesting,
real
like
fun.
when you look at Magic, less so now, but certainly historically, there was this kind of like mythos around like, oh, the new set comes out and all the best pro teams go and like rent a house where they put 15 people and they just grind the format for like 2 weeks before the pro tour, and someone's gonna come with some deck that no one thought of. And like this was like a really cool part of following like high level Magic for a long time. And digital clients also contribute to the erosion of this. Like people just find stuff faster. But something that I think is really cool about Genesis is that because the points list is so big and there are so many moving parts, there really is this opportunity for someone to find something and to break something out at a tournament that has not been found in some other context already. And so I think like in that regard, Genesis is really succeeding. It doesn't really fit on, well, I guess it's duelists who love a deck building challenge, love even a deck building challenge. They're obviously, I think what we're all alluding to is that Genesis has smashed it out of the park on exactly this bullet point for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I not to deep throat my own hot dog here, but I think a lot of the struggles.
Just gonna drop that on us.
Yeah.
We met
A
like
lot of
18 minutes ago or something.
Oh my God. A lot of the struggle that Genesis has had to take off within the community, I think, is because of this like deck building aspect, right? It really does benefit you to have that vocabulary for deck building, as you put it, Joseph. So the people who really like it are the people that do have that, and the people that don't like it are the people that don't think it's that important or don't find a lot of enjoyment, even if they do have that skill. But when deck lists are established and people will see what can be possible in that format, people are more interested in it. I think something I built that is causing a lot of that is that Ogdoadic Mitsurugi list that you put up on your channel.
I think I've gotten more comments about that list than anything ever I've made in Genesis, of people being like, I didn't know this was playable. I didn't know these cards could be played in this way. Like, I'm going to try out the format because I like this.
Maybe I should look at that list. I didn't look at it because I fucking hate Snake Rain so goddamn much, but maybe I'll look at it anyways.
Yeah, I'm ready to fire it off. It looks fun.
Without Ash in the format, I guess Snake Rain isn't as like obnoxious a card. I fucking hate playing Snake Rain in a format with Ash, but like Ash is not really anywhere usually. So maybe Snake Rain's fine. Maybe
Be a part of
maybe
that,
I can
right?
be fine to
Like-
play
like-
it.
People will look at a card that's 51 points and they'll go, oh, this deck is unplayable, and then they just close the deck building screen. And it's like, that's the thing I'm trying to like, whatever. We don't have to go down that route. That's my own little tangent. But I guess we can just move on to the next bullet, which is duelists who have always had a favorite deck and want their favorite deck to be a little more competitive. Obviously, there's nuance to this, but I unequivocally think this is, there's a lot of examples of how this is true.
Thank you. There's a lot of examples of how this is true. That's more accurate than what he was about to say, which is it is unequivocally true.
I like this one a lot.
I do want to say this one I'm a little less concerned about, just because it's so clearly like you can kind of see it dripping off this press release, but they are trying very hard to tap into the biggest Yu-Gi-Oh market, which is lapsed Yu-Gi-Oh players. Like, it is just unlikely you're going to get like a 12-year-old into this game these days. It does happen frequently. But the biggest market of people are like 35-year-old millennials with disposable income that remember the Blue Eyes White Dragon, right? A significant amount of these bullet points, especially this one, feel like they are geared specifically towards that. Like, I think it is true that pretty much everyone's favorite deck is more competitive in Genesis, with a couple of exceptions for decks that are pendulums or links, of course. It is
Or
just
pointed to
because
shit.
Genesis is a little lower powered. I don't think it's like that much of a deviation.
This same thing happens with Canadian Highlander. Like for a long time, the format is exceptionally high power now, but for like an extended period of time, like especially in like the 2010s, you would have people coming to the format saying like, oh, I miss being able to play X card that I used to play in my standard deck that's not playable in any other Eternal format. And it's like, okay, well, you can register that in Canadian Highlander. Like, are you still going to lose to the Storm player? Like, yes, probably, but it's going to be more competitive here than it would be elsewhere. And like,
that is one thing I think a lot of people miss, is that like a lot of these decks are still like bad in Genesis. but they'll be better than they were in
You
advanced.
can get people in the door by saying like, hey, come play your favorite cards. Like, I can't promise you that you're gonna win every game, but you will win some, probably, against the other people playing their favorite cards.
This is also impacting the ban list in Genesis. Like, it's so clear seeing things like Pot of Greed at 30, a card that probably is underpointed, based on like how unpointed archetypes can just jam it. But I think it's deliberately kept that low so people can be like, oh my god, I can play Pot of Greed. Like, I remember Pot of Greed.
I think that's the literal reason why Mirage of Nightmares is at
to be
0.
clear, I don't disagree with that. I think that's a really good sell of the format. It's just when it comes to like the health of the format, I don't take it too seriously, I guess.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, and it's just like not a realistic thing to promise people. Like, you can't just you can't tell
not at
someone
all.
your deck that you like. I'm reading your mind right now, and I know that exactly your deck will be playable in this format. Like, it's just that's not a thing. And I think anyone who's like approaching playing a trading card game competitively should be able to at least
Sniff
internalize
that
some
one out.
amount of that. Yeah.
And you can watch cartoons on Saturday again, and your parents will get back together.
Yeah.
Like,
Your mini pig will come back. I think this bullet point, man, it's tough because I do think Genesis does allow for enough of these decks, or like this enough older decks are more playable in this format, but I think a significant amount of them still are not playable to the point where this bullet point should have been like a selling point. And we're probably going to talk about our critiques of the format at some point in this Yapathon. The high amount of like the truly restrictive amount of points that are on certain decks on the list is something that works directly against this bullet point.
Genesis is a lot more complicated than that, Rexator. There's a whole points list associated with it instead of a ban list.
Against their messaging on this, but this is like one of the macro level points that people have had as a complaint towards this format for a long time now.
It lasted 1 week though. Like Ramstel or whoever is still playing Genesis after the first taste of Pot of Greed. Yeah, I mean like, and like the thing is, Pot of Greed is only really playable in like Monarch, a deck that already appeals to those type of players, right? Because it's Monarchs. So I just, and like this cards like Mirage of Nightmares, I'm going to make this point in my video essay, but like Mirage of Nightmares is a card that, do you want it to be legal? Like, yeah, it's nostalgic or whatever, but do you want it to be legal? Do you want it to be good? I guess I should say, like, if it wasn't good ever, that'd be one thing. But when it's good, it's fucking good. And I don't know that that's chill, right?
I think we have
but whatever.
the deck building to death. I think like the sell of this format is that it's really fun to build decks, if not a little challenging. And the other two are just nothing. Anyone looking for a new experience, or anyone who just can't get enough dueling, like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, it is a new format that can be played on an extra day for YCSs. I mean, I know in the EU they've had side events on Fridays and stuff.
You could play it in
now,
Dark
but,
World.
Now that Genesis
I
is here,
suppose
we have
so.
events on Fridays that people can play in here. So I guess it meets the last bullet point because there is more dueling you can do.
Oh, but they hate this fucking format in the EU. They, for some reason, like in Latin America, they're doing Genesis regionals like at 250 people, and in EU they're getting like 4. Like, just people will not play this format.
I don't know if
it's not because of like a cultural difference. It's because the EU Genesis format is like chronically undersupported. It's crazy. They don't even get special mats. They get the same mats as the rest of the fucking event does. That's why you had that one guy you activate E4.
regionals in Latin America are getting
No,
that many.
they
I think
are.
it's the YC. What?
Yeah, go to regional reporting in LATAM. It's like 150, 200, 250 for Genesis events. It's unbelievable.
My bet is that cost plays a role there. Like Genesis from a cost standpoint is like
That's
a
also
lot more
probably
accessible,
true.
and in LATAM that's like a more relevant
Because
detail.
Genesis is so significantly cheaper. It's not nothing. But like, okay, by the way, YGO Pro, you should never take YGO Pro deck prices seriously. But like, some of these topping decks are under $100. Look at this one. $50. Sacred Beast Angel Eki, a strong deck. $50. Under TCG player prices. YGO Pro deck TCG player prices. $50. Because they usually trend upwards, like higher than it's supposed to be. I've found.
And it would be
It takes
in Europe.
forever
Where
for them to get new sets in LATAM.
Yeah,
It's
card distribution is
unbelievable.
really bad in Latin America. Yeah.
That
you
too,
see
yeah.
this in like all sorts of card games for what it's worth. Like in Star Wars Unlimited, another game that I play, like the LATAM deck lists, like people are playing like 54 cards. 50 is the max deck size in that game. They're like playing like completely unreasonable ratios, but it's an availability thing. I think it's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Joseph.
I know, it's shocking. Genesis is secretly just a Spanish-speaking format.
Yeah, I guess. Dang.
In Portuguese, Kevin won a YCS. So I think that's probably it with respect to if Genesis has delivered for these people. I mean, if I had to sum it up, I would say it delivered the most for deck builders, and the rest of them, maybe not so much. You know, it seems like we're always trying to invent a Yu-Gi-Oh that isn't complicated, and I don't find it particularly surprising that we seem to have fucked up again, but it's, I guess, at least a little bit upsetting that despite the fact that the in-game process isn't as complex as it is in the TCG, it is still quite complex, and it comes with the added bonus of being like, and figure out how many points your deck is.
And also, like, the updates are frequent enough that your deck might cease to be legal every 2 months, and you gotta keep up with that upkeep. There's definitely some issues.
The next thing I want to talk about is...
But I think the points updates, unless you're playing some stupid bullshit, in which case you should know that this is coming, for the points updates for Genesis are so light that I find they usually don't completely invalidate a deck. It usually means you have to, go back to the drawing board a little bit. Is all
the infrastructure. So also in this article,
Oh
they talk
God!
about like
Don't get me started. I have a whole section about the infrastructure in my
plans
video
for the future of Genesis. And just as I guess I would say, spoiler, these all fell through. Originally, Genesis was intended to be built around not running at the same events as normal YCSs, but running as a side event at those YCSs, then having their own dedicated YCSs, as well as, and I guess I'm doing a little bit of creative interpretation of this article, a dedicated regional circuit. That has not come to pass. Instead, each individual regional has both a TCG element and a Genesis element, and each individual YCS has a Genesis main event on Friday and Sunday, and an advanced main event on Saturday and Sunday. I kind of want to pick y'all's brains about this. Do you think this was maybe like too ambitious? Do you think they backed off it because of player numbers? Like, what do you think?
I thought they were going to talk about the fact that locals have like absolutely no incentive to run Genesis format, and so hardly any locals are running Genesis format, and so there's no way to go fucking test your locals. You have to test in like online servers, and even then, do you know how hard it is to get a fucking game of Genesis on Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega or Dueling Nexus or whatever?
I would guess it was player number related. Like, obviously, like, the costs associated with running large events are immense, and if you don't think you're going to get the attendance to...
And I think these player numbers would go up if people could have a fun playing it at their locals. If you can experiment with a format at locals, I think the numbers would rise greatly.
Justify them. It's, I think, easy to envision.
They'll never do it, but Master Duel is the key. I don't even know if that... It might be true. The problem is... And this is honestly not the if they put Genesis in there as it exists in the TCG, I would agree, Zuchi. But the fact of the matter is, if they put Genesis into Master Duel, it's going to be some weird hodgepodge of the TCG and the OCG Genesis format, and it's going to be unlike either of those formats. It's not going to be a good place for testing at all, just like the main Master Duel format. Why do we have this set up? I don't know.
I think that the way that the Genesis
Pet Rabbit Bun, thank you for the follow.
Now, where they are kind of like on the
OCG Genesis shouldn't even exist. It shouldn't. It looks kind of interesting. I got to be real, but it shouldn't exist. There should not be a separate Genesis format to separate out the fucking shit. Exorcisters is quite good in Genesis. Yeah, if you're looking to play Exorcisters, Genesis is a good place to do that.
On the Fridays for YCS is clever. One thing that I would think would be kind of interesting to see them do going forward is to incorporate, if both formats genuinely are going to be like officially supported, it would be interesting to see them create like hybrid events where you had to play both. You had to be like a good advanced player and a good Genesis player. This is something that happens like at the Magic Pro.
Impossible. Literally impossible.
Skilled limited player.
Nobody has the time to do that.
Like
Hi there.
Modern, whatever format it is. That
I'm
is
all
the
right.
constructed format at the event. And I think that like maybe that's like the long-term future if they want to actually support the event is like support the format. Sorry, it's like, but then also for like the turbo competitive players, give them a reason why they need to practice and be good at this format as well.
I mean, not to go on a tangent here. Are you familiar with the history of a battle pack draft?
I am not, although I would be very intrigued. Yu-Gi-Oh! Limited is fascinating to me.
I love this. I love we get to explain this to you. Oh my god.
This
First
is
off, I
so
wanna say
funny. Explaining to a Magic player how there used to be the fucking YCSs with the Battle Pack draft.
Magic the Gathering, like, Pro Tour thing of doing, like, constructed one day, limited another day, I think is just perfect. I love testing like well-rounded players. I think that's like super.
That is such
cool
a strange
and
criticism,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Pet Rabbit
adopted
Bun. I
this
got to be
for
real.
a short period of time, about a year. They had 3 individual sets and 1 bonus set called battle packs, and they were designed to be drafted. So the way that YCSs went during this year was it was Swiss rounds until Top Cut, and then Top Cut would pair off into 8-person pods and draft out.
Oh no, Top Cut draft. It's not good.
This was a
His reaction is
fucking
so
nightmare.
funny.
Yeah.
It was massively disliked by the community. It turned them off of limited formats in general, but also alternate formats for years
Oh,
afterwards.
that's so
Then
brutal.
play
And
Monarch.
it
You
had
can
these,
play
like,
Pot of Greed and
tap-on effects
Monarch
with
just
reporting
fine.
Where like Yu-Gi-Oh players who were uncomfortable or didn't understand limited would like go to an event, see who the first place deck list was, and just be like, oh, that person won the event. But it's like,
Yeah,
no,
no
that deck
problem.
list got top 16th. That person was just a good drafter, had a good pool. The sets weren't perfectly balanced. And to compensate, they changed one of the YCSs later to be main event draft, and then Top Cut constructed.
At least in theory,
which
yeah.
also was bad because of the cost of the thing. People were like, I have to play 2 days with this dog shit limited deck, and then I get to Top Cut to see if I was supposed to spend $1,000 on like a Necroz list.
Yeah, that's rough.
It was very, very poorly managed, but as a
Yeah.
result, I think they would probably shy away from like a 2-day event that tries 2 formats for almost exclusively that
Unfortunately.
reason.
But I want them to do it with like Worlds. Like I want to make the best players in the world do this.
Yu-Gi-Oh! They love specializing their players. They're like, this is the master duel we're playing, and it's so frustrating for duelists like Ryan Yu, who legitimately are good in like 4 different formats, like maybe best in the world in like
Yeah.
TCG and Master Duel, but we'll never get to show that off. Like that sucks.
Like-
Although, he then goes to try Genesis and he gets he's hit with the hero FTK 7 times in a row.
To me, mixed format is the well, I mean, it's the past because that's what Magic has always done, but it's the future too. It's just like such a cool way of demonstrating skill, and like especially where Yu-Gi-Oh is a game that rewards like deep knowledge so significantly, like asking players to get a very deep level of knowledge in more than one area, I think is even cooler.
I guess if I have to talk about the
Technically not an FTK, it's a pseudo FTK, it's a turn skip is what it is. But man, that hero deck was so frustrating.
like the logistics piece of it, I think now, since we're doing 2 main events, 1 Genesis event and 1 advanced format event, especially in the EU where ticket prices or entry prices are higher, they're like $45 bucks, whereas in the NA it's still about 25 for entry for both. I think we should start thinking about a YCS as like a convention ticket, and you buy 1 ticket for the weekend,
God, I wish. Dude. Thank you. I really think that YCSs should lean more into that convention direction. If they had like a Artist Alley, or something like that, I would adore that. I saw your Yu-Gi-Oh deck, by the way. I liked it. Which one? I'm curious. I've had a couple of them over the years. I don't do deck profiles anymore, but I used to do a lot. But yeah, I really think the YCS should be like a Yu-Gi-Oh convention experience. It would be a really good way to pay for the expenses of a YCS more by getting in like more vendors and artists and stuff, and getting more casual fans in, and potentially showing them what they can, like the fun that they can have in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, even if they're not like super keyed into it anymore. I just don't know why they don't do that.
And you don't have to buy different entries for both formats. Or if you do want to participate in both formats, there's like a bundle deal that you can get. Because come on, $90
Like
from the EU perspective
the
to play
Makanko?
both formats. Like, yeah, no wonder it doesn't.
I've never
take off
played
there. That's
Makanko.
like, if you already know how to play Advanced, you
I
have a
don't
deck for
think.
Advanced, you've never played Genesis before, why would you enter it alongside Advanced when you have to spend damn near 100 whatever currency to do it? I
Is
think
someone
that's something
impersonating
and
me?
they should honestly do that in the EU here. Like the ticket should be for the weekend to participate in the YCS.
You
in
can't
both
go.
formats, or only one if you choose to do so. Right? I think that's my biggest complaint about the infrastructure of the format.
It's fascinating because like you said like like €90 or whatever to like play all the events you're going to play on a weekend at a tournament, and I was like, that sounds great. Like Magic tournaments are like
Magics are so expensive.
so expensive. Yeah, exactly. So it's like
Yeah.
I know there are big differences in pricing and the way the price structures work. So like
I was paying
obviously,
$60 for a GP in 2013.
like, I think
You can buy a house with that money
Why the
now.
hero hate? It is purely because it has the that turn skip. The hero deck is really cool, a really cool rank 4 enabler, but that turn skip with Cosmic Neos is really obnoxious.
That's right. I could have bought a car for my GP Vancouver entry, but then like, and you're entering side events, and those are like $30 or $40 each. Like I think like the last GP I went to, I probably spent like $250 of Canadian funny money on various event entries over the course of the whole
Cosmic
weekend.
Neos,
So,
my
like,
beloved.
it's a very different context.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I remember being really excited for this first explanation of how it was going to be run. I was like, oh, cool. Parallel tournament infrastructure is really nice. But there was just no way. Like, from the
Yeah.
get, I was like, yeah, there's just no way. I'm glad that they found a compromise instead of just being like, we're not doing the regionals.
It's a really
My
cool
understanding
compromise,
from
too.
talking to people in Konami is that they have been surprised by
You
how
showed it to
popular
non-Yu-Gi-Oh
Genesis has
players
been,
to be look at this shit.
especially at the,
I showed the new raw cards to a non-Yu-Gi-Oh player just to be like, "What? Look at this shit! What are they doing?" That deck looks insane. The new
WCQ
raw
working
deck
with
looks
500 people,
insane.
parallel to the main event. You know, that's not
I just
enough
gotta
to-
find the right
to
side
support
engine
a
for it.
regional scene.
Yeah, I mean it's so tough because the regional scene is so important for locals' interest, right? Because
Yubel versus
regionals
New
are
Raw.
very important for the
Honestly,
player base,
Yubel could work
as
pretty well
often
with
they
it
are
because
a lot
it's
of
just a
people's
bunch
biggest
of
event that they will go
fiends
to is
still,
just a regional,
right?
You know, a lot
It's
of
just
people
the
don't make
matter.
make-
The only issue I have with that is like there's a lot of bricks in the Yubel deck, a lot of bricks in the Raw deck. But you know,
travel costs and plane tickets and hotels to go to a tier 3 event. Quite often people will be like, I'm going to go to the regional this weekend and that's going to be like my thing for the year or whatever. And people will go to locals to test for the regionals. That's that loop of gameplay that people have for the competitive scene is very important. So it's a shame that the Genesis regional, like,
I was trying to do like an Unchained Raw deck, but did you know that Makira is a warrior and not a fiend? I didn't.
events are not
That new
bigger
guy.
than they are, but I think that's just, I'm not too worried about that. I think that is just a
I
product
thought I
of
could.
the
I
format.
thought I could use Makira and what's his face, the level 5 from hand, to make Yama, and then Yama into Sharvara, and then do like a little bit of Unchained stuff. But no.
The community sentiment just hasn't been built up around it yet. I think that's just something that's going to grow with time. It's hard to expect that a Genesis regional circuit is going to already be getting hundreds of people when regionals themselves get about 200, 300 in NA. Yeah, I just
Oh yeah,
I'm not
that
too
really
worried about that.
makes
Nor do I
sense,
think
yeah.
they're doing necessarily a bad job.
I have a somewhat tangential question about this for the two of you. Do you think the results of the WCQ Genesis tournament were like negative for this as well, where it was like really dominated in the top 8 by Blitzkrieg? Like, is that a situation where you think that might like have pushed them to run less events because they're worried about having the format like look like this right now? Well, it's
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like they usually don't actually pay that much attention to that kind of thing, but I could be wrong on that. I want to slip Laundry Dagger Made into Eldritch Prison artist I follow. Yeah, I know the one you're
still
talking
being
about.
ironed out, like in terms of finding all the kinks, or do you think that doesn't really factor for them at all?
I think that's fucking Yu-Gi-Oh, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
6 out of 8 top 8 slots. That's just pod racing.
That's a fucking Tuesday, man.
To jump on this question, because I think it is fascinating and I do have a lot of opinions on it. We didn't used to evaluate Top Cut based off of top 8. This is a very recent change that happened.
Yeah,
this
that's the
year,
thing.
Early this year, late
It
last
was
year
maybe
sometime.
Yeah, it was around this time. It was this regional season, so it would be like late 2024 maybe.
So Top Cut used to be based on player attendance, right? So quite often at YCSs and larger events, it was top 32 or top 64 was actually quite frequent. This is a new thing for Top Cuts to be evaluated solely as top 8 because no
It's
matter the
very
tier 3 event,
strange.
they just do top 8 now, regardless of size,
To
right?
kind of not to butt in here, but for a tournament of the Genesis WCQ events size, it would have been top 32.
Like in a playoff, you mean?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The only people that do the playoff or Top Cut is top
I
8.
thought I came in a wild format IRL. Started playing IRL during Drytron era. I started playing just a little bit before Drytron. This has definitely been a weird transitionary period for Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like just this exact moment. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on.
So when I see a top 8 of 7 of them being one deck, in this case Blitzkrieg, that doesn't really like I don't view that as total tier 0 quote unquote format dominance. I mean, you have to zoom out a bit and still see the rest of that top 32, but for some reason I don't know what happened to the object permanence of the community, but that's just not how we evaluated top.
Well, another thing to look at when you're looking at that top 8, like so, let's take a quick look at that. Actually, that was Columbus. So this is why it was YCS. Was it not Columbus? Where was it then? What was the one that had the... Anyone in chat remember which YCS it was? I thought it was Columbus that had the 7 Blitzkrieg. Was it Richmond? No. What the hell? They've erased it from history. What the fuck? I'm so confused. I could have sworn it was July 2026. Was it Santa Clara? That's a regional. That's not, that can't be it. Was it the WCQ? Oh, it was the WCQ, not a YCS. That's what it was. Okay. So, thank you for Tristan for helping me find that. If you look at this, you see 7 Blitzkrieg in the top 8. As soon as you move in the top 16, there's 2 more Blitzkrieg, but otherwise it's a bunch of other stuff, right? You got Hero, you got Sacred Beast, you got Super Quant, you got Heckin' Hands. More Sacred Beast. The new Sacred Beast cards are really strong, although, again, they've been pushed out of the format a little bit. So, let's look at the names, though, right? We've got fucking Honko Chow, Jared Sendamore, Usaid Alkani. Like, these are fucking good players. These are good fucking players. So, like, when you have a format that has 533 duelists in a tournament, right? And 1 testing click of really, or like maybe even 2 testing clicks of really strong players decide that Blitzkrieg is the best deck. They're all going to bring Blitzkrieg. And so all of a sudden you got like a bunch of really good players on Blitzkrieg all in a 500 person tournament. What do you think is going to happen? Blitzkrieg is going to have a lot of top cut representation. Even if top 16 includes a lot less Blitzkrieg, top 32 still includes a lot of Blitzkrieg. Don't get me wrong, Blitzkrieg a strong deck, but like if you expand this out into these like the wider pool, I think it's more like 50% Blitzkrieg just based on like looking at it, and it dilutes some of these, just like this 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 testing groups that just decided to go on Blitzkrieg. 50%, still a lot. Probably not ideal for Genesis format. Means they should put more points on it. And they did. And also, yes, people were much more afraid of Constellar because of his FTKs and how like they were really hyped up before the event. Like the Constellar stuff was super hyped up before the event, while a lot of the people who were actually testing the format were slowly realizing that Blitzkrieg was the best deck you could be playing, and it just completely hosed Constellar and Melfi. People were prepared for Melfi and Constellar when they should have been prepared for Blitzkrieg and Blitzkrieg. And Sacred Beast. A lot of people were not prepared for Sacred Beast at all.
Cuts anymore. Whatever, that's my own criticism of the community.
The same thing's happening in the TCG too. The top 8 of the WCQ was 7 of 1 deck, but
yeah, cool too.
The larger top 16 was very diverse. It just happened to be that the top 8 were the 7 Cool Toon players,
and they all lost.
Yeah, they all got their ass beat
by Sky Striker of all things.
But still, though, to empathize.
Of course, that's because Cool Toon is like one of the weakest top decks in modern memory. It's kind of like a Kashtira situation where it really hoses especially hoses rogue decks. And it's really fucking annoying, but it's not a particularly strong deck. It's just that everything else has been hit enough to where it is the strongest deck in the room.
With the community, the optics of that are still bad. You know, the optics of that are bad.
Yeah, the optics are bad.
You have an explicit bullet point.
Undeniably.
That's who have always had a favorite deck and want their favorite deck to be a little more competitive. And then the top 8 of a tournament is all the newest deck that came out. It's like, well, are we for real right now? So what is the mission statement here? Because clearly this is a new avenue for other archetypes that are less playable in advance to perform more competitively. in a
LC said it was
format,
uniquely
which
strong and evil with
is
1 month of
fine.
experience. I agree with the evil part. It is uniquely evil. Well, maybe not uniquely. It's pretty in line with Kashira's level of evil, honestly. But yeah, not strong.
But
Just because
the
everything
bad
else was
optics
removed.
come from not only the new decks performing so well, but the older decks that don't need the
But,
amount of balance
LC
applied to them being overbalanced. And
He's a smart guy.
That leads
He's
to
just,
there are two macro level complaints
he's
with
played
with
for- he
Genesis
played for a
format that I
month and then
have,
said
one of
Kulton
them,
was
the
evil,
major
like,
one,
you know?
is the overpointing of older modern archetypes. And a lot of people have that complaint, which is the thing that's actively turning people away from the format. And I try to tell people that they should still try the format. But it's hard
And you
for me
should.
to
You should try
advocate
the
for
format. It's
Genesis
great.
when that is a very valid criticism. That is the most valid criticism of the format. So, very long answer, roundabout answer to your question, but it is a bad look for the format, even though I think playing against Blitzkrieg can be pretty enjoyable.
God, I actually really like this discussion that they're having. It's really good. I'm pausing it because I have to just say how good it is. Because like if you compare this to the first video we watched where it was Peeps, Danny, and Doug, not Danny, Peeps, MBT, and Doug talking about it, and they were like the very first one, not the second one that was a little more nuanced. That one pissed me the fuck off. It was so annoying. But this one's like really, I really like the nuance that they're bringing here.
The optics of it are still.
I'm the
very
nuance
negative, very
enjoyer, and
I was
I'm
gonna say, do you
having a
find them
field
more
day.
reticent to take cards off the list than they are to add points to cards? Like, have they taken the approach of being more additive than kind of like doing both? Because I know, like in Canadian Highlander, like this is like an identifiable problem. Cards go on the list, and like obviously we're working with 10, not 100, but like cards go on the list.
It is much harder to take points off of a card when you are dealing with a 10-point list instead of a 100-point.
And they just stay at 1 forever, regardless of whether they see 0 play. They're just at 1, and there's this kind of like memory around the card that means that it can't come off. And to me, it feels a little bit like, even from the initial list, there were like some cards that went on at pretty high values that Konami seemed to be like kind of terrified of, and they've been,
That's
it
true,
seems to me
Christian.
like they've been somewhat like reticent to pull some of those off the list.
I could not have asked for a better segue to our next topic, where I wanted to talk about the points list. So, like you alluded to, the points list released with 10 trillion hits, thankfully fewer than the OCG Genesis list, which is just
Oh my god.
a bag of worms I am not interested in dipping my
Yeah,
hand
we don't even
into.
have to talk about that. I don't want to even. I don't even want to. Like,
But a billion jillion hits.
And like, I know I made fun of the OCG list a lot. I think it is actually kind of interesting to hit everything, to be so fucking into the minutia of Yu-Gi-Oh that you hit everything a little bit. It just shouldn't have been a separate format. I just really am annoyed that they made their own format again.
That have been kind of massaged for the last year. I wanted to ask about your reactions to the list, if you think the list needs to be managed differently, if you're happy with what has been done to the cards on it, what you would like to see in the future with respect to the points list exactly.
I honestly think that this is one of the most interesting things to talk about in regards to how Genesis has evolved through to its anniversary. Because there has been a lot of positive stuff. I mean, nuance. There's been some negative stuff too, right? But there's a lot of nuance on this topic, and they have, I feel, done a good job of not being just additive or taking cards off the list. They've not only have they been very balanced and measured.
I wouldn't have agreed with him except for the most recent points update for Genesis. The most recent one, I really think convinced me of what he's saying right now. If you had asked me before the most recent update, I would not have agreed. But that most recent update where they removed a shit ton of points off of all the consistency tools really, really was a great move of removing some of the unnecessary points.
In that, but they're also getting better about it as points lists
True,
evolve,
they are
new
getting
ones come out,
absolutely better at
especially
it.
with respect
In fact, they seem to actually be developing a philosophy of what they want the format to look like. They aren't telling us what they want it to look like, but they do seem to have a sort of philosophy for it now, which I am so happy about.
with respect to the most recent one, where they took a bunch of consistency spells to much lower point values. I mean, some of these reductions are massive. We're talking about like original
Pre-watched?
from 100 to 17, an 83-point reduction. 1-for-1 from 91 to 19.
Fuck,
These
1-for-1
cards that they
and
initially
Snake
put
Eyes.
super
Ugh.
high because their first stated philosophy was that consistency cards need to be hit, but they have backed off of that. And I think that's great. That is super important for that adjustment in philosophy because I think consistency cards are very important for older, weaker decks to be more competitive and have
Exactly.
a slot in the format. I really can't give you an answer.
Man, sometimes Peeps and I have like complete opposite views on things, and sometimes we are like singular brain cell, just
if they are more additive or negative in terms of the points list, because I think they have a good balance right now. I feel like they could be better, but still, that's how I would address that point.
One thing I noticed when I kind of like saw the list is that it seems like they started to get better at pre-hitting cards that they know are going to be too good in the format. Like that's something like when I was first getting into the game and like I was aware of Genesis and I was playing Advanced and like Cool Tune got released in the TCG and I was like, these cards seem very powerful and they are not really pointed in any substantial manner. And it's like we knew they were good because we knew they were good in the OCG. So it's like I felt like there was some missing of that, but it does seem like they've gotten better at doing that as well, even.
A little bit. I think they did that very well with the Ritual of Light and Darkness archetype. They heavily pointed that.
Yes.
Although it is still playable. It is still
it's still playable.
Yep.
The cool thing, oh my god, the Rolad points were so fucking smart. I should say ladder. He said Rolad. I prefer ladder because that's the English name. Light and Darkness Ritual. The points on those were so fucking smart to the point where you can play the deck as an engine in other decks, but it's going to cost you a fuck ton of points. Perfect. Really fucking cool.
But it is refreshing to see that they are willing to be like, some of these new cards, we know they're going to be strong in advance, and we don't want all the top tables of both formats to be the same, because they saw that happen with Cool Tune, and they were, right, that was somewhat of a frustration for the community. So they adopted that change of philosophy too, where they are willing to hit points, or apply points to certain decks. I do think they need to be even a little more heavy-handed on it, because, again, the optics of the Blitzclick situation in top 8 probably shouldn't happen every single time a Tier 3 event happens with a new set that came out just before it, because that is going to be frustrating for a lot of people.
I think there's almost this perception though of like there are Genesis archetypes and there are advanced archetypes now. Like Blitzclick is not seeing play at advanced, right? So like in some ways it's kind of okay.
And total Genesis cultural victory, by the way. One thing that happens every time a new set comes out is every pro releases a Medify like masterclass on every single archetype in there. And the Blitzclick one, they're like, I did both an advanced and a Genesis version, and I'm like, yeah, okay. No one's buying the advanced version, but I appreciate that. that is kind of good. I do want to real quick circle back to the discussion of removal. Because one thing that really has...
Well, while they're changing topics here, let's take a quick little ad break and we'll be right back with more. Okay, that button doesn't work anymore. Great. Awesome. Something disconnected, apparently. All right, we're back. I actually don't know what that track is. I actually tried to turn the monitor on so I could hear what it was. I don't remember. I think it's from Duel Links. It's either from Duel Links or from Pokemon. I don't think it's from anything else. I could be wrong on that, though. Who knows? Teehee. All right, let's watch more.
What aggravated me is they are not taking cards off this list. Cards will go down. You'll see cards moved from like 5 to 3 to 1. But is there a reason Forbidden Chalice is at 1? You know, certainly with staples, it makes a little sense. Do you want there to be some sort of opportunity?
I think there's a reason why Forbidden Chalice is at 1. It's a pretty good card. Have you tried playing it? It's pretty good. I feel like 1 point is a reasonable place for Chalice to be, honestly.
Cost to including these cards at all. But what about like archetypal cards currently languishing at like 1 or 2 or 3? If they're not boxing out an explicit FTK, it does a lot for the mental load of this format where people already have to internalize this like 700 item Excel spreadsheet to just be like, yeah, we can just cut half of these off without any change to what's playable.
But that's like the point of the 100 points. If you wanted it to not, if they didn't want to be able to do that, they would have made it a 10-point system, right?
I would say that that's like something that would benefit the format. Like I'm like scrolling through the list as we're talking, and it's like, you know, I think it's 600 or 700 cards, right? Like it's genuinely like an astonishing number. And it feels like a lot of these 1s and 2s, especially like just from my looking at them, like we could find other ways to box some of these things out that didn't involve adding a bunch of cards down at 1.
I mean, for instance, you know, Alistair stuff, the new invoked stuff is really powerful. So Alistair is a 4-point card, and the card that searches it, Iwas, is a 2-point card. But Iwas's only utility in the deck really is to search Alistair and be a wind for the archetype. So could we not have made Alistair 6 or even 7 to like compensate? Say for the fact that one of these is free and just not point the other ones. There's not 2 things on the list. Like, does Archfiend's Usurpation need to be at 3 instead of 0? Does the 2 Archmage Continuouses need to be at 3 instead of 0? Does Astral Karibo need to be at 3 instead of 0? And it's like, I really can't make a case for it, and you wouldn't have these weird jump scares while deck building and third-party clients that are like, did you know this card is 3 for no reason?
I don't know. This is where I disagree with this point a lot.
Thank you, peeps.
I have always been a
Get our asses.
defender of large lists. As daunting as they can seem, the minute somebody gets to a deck building screen,
this is the cool part of the format. You're talking about the cool part of the format, that you can fine tune everything by putting a couple points here and a couple points there.
don't think that everybody just goes, oh my god, I don't have every point value memorized. What do I do? You know,
they go to a fucking deck builder.
It's hard for me to see that as a criticism. Or, I don't know, whatever. This is just my own personal thing. But in terms of the point value spread across an archetype, even though it does...
what the real solution to this is, the official deck builder that they have for Genesis should be revamped and made actually usable. Like, if you go Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis, if you fucking go to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis page and you use this to build your Genesis deck... What is Neuron? You have to fucking download the goddamn Neuron app now to do this. They don't even have one in the web, like as a web thing you can use anymore. Like, what are you talking about? And then otherwise you're supposed to control F this fucking list here? Instead, they should have made a fucking usable deck builder like every other person has. Look, I'll just make a fucking thing on Dueling Nexus. Create deck. Fuck. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. I am in fact allowed to do that. And then I could just say Genesis. And then I could start building a Genesis deck. Ooh, I've never used Dueling Nexus on a 1920 by 1080. I didn't realize they had 2 rows of cards. Whoa. I'm opening up to a new world of possibilities here. But like, here, I could make a blitz click deck real quick. And we have all the points. Like, here's a card that has 2 points on it. Right? Like, it's not a problem if you actually have deck builders, which we do. It's just there's not an official one, and there should be an official one, right?
Create situations where some cards have lower point values just like spread across everything. I think that it is meaningful in the sense that it reduces the space for non-engine that can be played. And I guess your rebuttal to that would just be like, well, just make one card more points.
Okay, even if you don't want to consolidate points, just for power level reasons, why is Danger Dogman 3 points?
This I can agree with, right?
There's a lot of these that are bad, you know?
No, I agree. If we want to talk about,
But also, the reason is the dangers are dangerous if left unpointed.
talk about cards that don't need to be pointed on there at all, sure, I'll agree with you there. But in terms of things like the fairy tale hits or like Iwas versus Alistair, I think points being spread across an engine is not necessarily just bad on the face of it when that engine is a good engine that deserves.
Because then it makes the way you build the engine more flexible, right? You can say you don't want to pay the 6 points for Whisker 3 times. So you just do 1 Whisker, but you still have points on Surge and Crackle. So you're still going to be paying some points for this engine, right? You still have points on Breakaway, right? I think that's important for how this format works.
Points. That's where I sit on that. Like, the fact that a playset of Iwas is 6 points is meaningful in deck building.
Mm-hmm.
When you say a playset,
because instead you'll have this invoke. I guess that doesn't actually bring up Iwas. Alistair. We'll give us Alistair the Reminiscent. Let's just remove all these Blitzclick cards, and then instead you'll instead of this, right? You'll just have people do this. If Iwas was free, you just have this. So unless you're putting all 6 points onto one singular Alistair, thought the complaint was more that 21 was not enough points for Cosmic Neo. It's not that it should be spread about, and it's not that it should be spread more hero cards, for example. Like, that's a much more reasonable complaint. Cosmo Neos is severely underpointed. It should probably be like 100. But like what they're saying is that like all of these points on Iwas should be on Alistair. All of these points, but he's not even saying this. He's saying the points on a singular. This should be the points for just the Alistair. But like then you just get to play 2 more Iwas, which search you out your Alistair, so Alistair becomes cheaper, right? Like, essentially 4 copies of Alistair becomes cheaper. Or, yeah. Like, I don't...
of Alistair is 9 points.
Yeah.
A playset of Sacred Beast whatever is 12 points or something, you know? Just having, like, what is it going to cost me to play a playset of this card? That is, like, in that mindset, I like that.
Again, I don't want to split hairs here, but with respect to Iwas, like, its utility is just to find Alistair. There's never a scenario where you'd play just the Iwas, but not the Alistair. In contrast to, like, Fairy Tale, where you are playing both Match Giru and Ball and Wickhat, I understand a spread.
Like, again, it really allows for more nuance in deck expression, is what I'm getting down to. Again, look. If you have this, Alistair is at 4, Iwas is at 2. This is 18 points right here. If you put the 2 points on Iwas onto Alistair and make every Alistair 6 points, this would cost the same amount. However, if you change this at all, these cards are now 6 points. It costs the same amount as if you had the 3 Iwas on here. Additionally, if you make these cards 6 points to match the 2 points for the Iwas, this becomes significantly cheaper. This costs 6 points instead of 10. So the way the points are distributed allows for it's accounting for differences in deck building preferences, allowing you to spread points out the way you want them to be spread out.
For some archetypes, but not all of them.
Are you always playing 3 and 3? Because that's, I think, one of the interesting things about like the Genesis.
Thank you,
points
LC.
compared to something like the Canadian Highlander list is Canadian Highlander
Not
is
pre-watched.
so the points really matter at a granular level. Like, you know that you can't put Time Vault and Tinker in the same deck because they're 8 and 3 points, or 7 and 4. I can't remember what they are right now. But like comparatively in Genesis, like it's kind of like what Peeps was alluding to. Like, you by having lower point values on things, you are putting this kind of explicit cost on getting access to the consistency of playing more than one of these cards, which
Right.
I can see the argument for. I don't have like enough like detailed information to engage in this argument of like where exactly the points should be assigned, but I do think there's like something to be said if you have a situation where like the cards aren't being played at max points or at max copies each, then yeah, maybe it does make sense to spread the points out, because if you don't, then maybe you just play like 3 of the tutor and only 1 of the actual pointed one if you put all the points in the thing that you're going to find.
The obvious
I
argument,
can kind of see
right?
it in that context, but
Even a person who doesn't understand the cards knows this. Like,
obviously, yeah, I don't have full information to engage in this discussion.
For whatever reason, it just fits comfier in my brain. I don't know why, because it seems like it should be more complicated. But when I think about if a playset of Iwas is 6, you know, and I have it in my conceptualized in my brain that a playset of Iwas is 6, but I want to include DD Crow somewhere. I go like, okay, well, I know a playset of Iwas is 6. I can remove one of those to make it 4, and I can put a DD Crow in there to. There's just, I don't know. This is my own personal. It's hard for me to put this as like positive or negative because I like it. I guess it's very a biased opinion that I have. I'll admit.
I guess I would say, like, I understand that perspective. I happen to disagree with it. I think we can both agree that there's a bunch of shit on here that doesn't need to be on here.
that's true.
I agree.
Rather than play with a list that moves something from 3 to 2 to 1, you could take Knight Armed Dragon, the Armored Knight Dragon, off today.
Yeah,
There's no utility to that card being on the list. And
I forgot that was on there.
it means that sometimes you're going to be playing a game, you're going to be like, it's what the fuck? What do you mean it's points? And that sucks.
Yeah, and so removal, great. You know, to your point, the difference in removal and reduction, I think, is important. And boy, oh boy, I think we have to be quicker on if a card has not performed competitively in its time since this format started.
It's been a
what
year.
are we doing?
Yeah,
It's been a year. It's been a year.
Star Seraph Scepter and Star Seraph Sovereignty can come off. They are 5
As long as they're not like obnoxious cards. I think that caveat is so fucking important because otherwise you get all the floodgates coming off.
apiece. They said pay 30 for Stick Chair.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think that, okay, with that in mind, I guess I would say, as a whole, how do you feel about the list now rather than, you know, at the genesis of Genesis? What do you think about what has been changed? I think we're like circling around the fact that we do like the changes. We wish they were just faster or more complete.
right. I mean, the answer to that is frustrating because there are so many positives that have happened with the points list and the changes in philosophy that have been positive in the format's, you know, breaking in its shoes, as I call it. But the points list is still the thing that is keeping so many people away that have had an older favorite modern deck that feel that they can't play it, or not even just feel that they can't play it, truly can't play it, like Fluanderies. I'm harping on or Ancient Gear. Like, some of these Ancient Gear cards are a gazillion points. Well, I mean, like, you say good, but, like, the deck has done nothing. The promise of this format, as they have discussed multiple times, is...
Okay, I gotta be real with you. Good. Ancient Gear is a deck that should never be playable in this format.
Cards see less play, they get less points. Cards see more play, they get more points. Okay, Whisker Blitzclick is the best card ever, and it was in a top 8 of the format, all right? And Ancient Gear Advance, or whatever the card is still 33, and I ain't seen any Ancient Gear decks being played, so, like, what's the holdup, you know?
Hi there.
So it's like, I based on where the points list has been and the changes that have been made are positive, I love them, but in the context of the full year anniversary that we've had with Genesis, it's not fulfilling what its design was supposed to be, you know? So I'm very conflicted.
I was just gonna say, one thing that happens a decent amount when you're trying to manage formats with points lists is it gets challenging to interpret the metagame outcomes based on your changes. If you make too many changes in one go, it can be hard to
Yes.
evaluate, like, oh, this is happening.
I think that's
because
why
of
they hit
this
things
point lower,
slowly.
or this is happening because we added this to the list. There's like a lot of kind of like glut in the data that you're getting, and I do wonder if that's factoring in to their decisions to be like a bit more.
That's why I want them
slow
to.
in their response to certain.
That's why I'm like when there's new cards, you got to hit them hard and then ease them back rather than the other way around, because otherwise you can be too slow to react to them.
things. They're trying to like parse through what actually matters versus just like making some kind of like snap reaction where you change 60 or 70 or 80 cards in one go, because theoretically you could based on like the data, but then like you're basically creating an entirely new format, and it's as though we're starting from a year ago.
LC imagining Konami looking at data like they're WotC. They are looking at data. They specifically said they're looking at data. In fact, that's the only thing they seem to care about for a while.
Again, and so I think that's part of why they're potentially being a bit more measured in their removal of cards or their reductions of cards.
Granted, their data is only tournament results, by the way. That's the only
'Cause it
data
would be
they're
a
looking
lot.
at.
But this leads to a point that I actually tweeted about. I made a thread on this where I think a really awesome engagement focused thing they could do is an anniversary
Or
points
they're
update.
lying. No, considering the choices that they were making, they were not lying. They were just they were doing some dog shit that could only come from looking at data exclusively.
I think this would be like the coolest thing ever, is that they go, we've had Genesis for a year. It was in beta for 1/2, 2/3 of the year. We've had the WCQ, NAGC event for it. We know what cards aren't seeing success and have seen minimal play. We are going to do a full list based solely on reductions in points for the decks that have not performed since we made the initial list. And then just boom, like a big, you see a bunch of green line items on that list that just reduces the points in all these archetypes that haven't been played. And I think that would be super exciting. A lot of people would really love that, and it would absolutely drive interest in the format way up, because it is people's main criticism.
I guess that's a good enough point to get to this final thing, which is if you could identify one thing you would want Genesis to improve in order to, I guess, secure the next year of Genesisery, what would it be?
Okay, I'm gonna do mine first because I get that privilege. This is gonna sound weird, but they've already started making the changes I want them to make as far as the points list goes. They need to make a locals push. I think I was gonna say something else actually, but I realized they need to make the locals push. They absolutely have to find a way to get locals to run Genesis, or else it is going to die. That is like I am absolutely certain of this fact. If they do not get locals to run Genesis, it will die. So I think they need to do a locals push. The thing I was going to say was actually more communication, which is funny to say because that was like the thing people praised it for when they first were starting doing it. But they just haven't really been communicating since then, right? Like, not much. Oh, this is not what I wanted to look at. If we go back to the Genesis blog, Magnificent Monsters distribution depends on how many Genesis events the LGS runs. Really? That's not the way I would do that. I would prefer them to use a carrot rather than a stick, honestly, but okay. But if we go to the Genesis blog, I tried to do this the other day. Oh, if they did that, it'd work. Yeah, I would prefer a carrot rather than a stick, like some exclusive Genesis like prizing support that you can give out. Would I think probably be a better sell rather than pissing off their LGSs even more than they already do. But yeah, I tried to do this the other day, but the blog was fucking down. But if you look at the blogs, you can start from the beginning. Start from the beginning of Genesis. There's 4 pages of blog posts now. Isn't that exciting? You have the introducing Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis TCG. Why do a point system at all? What if I create the next great deck? When and where to play? Pot of Greed debate. The first Genesis duelists. First point adjustment. Cost of prevention. Theme spotlight. Blue Eyes Genesis. What gameplay rules are different in Genesis? These are all September. These are all in September. Then October hits. Cool stuff that's never been legal before. Genesis at YCS Anaheim. What to expect in the October points Genesis update. October points update. Answer some of your questions about October's points update. YCS Pittsburgh recap. YCS Genesis YCS at YCS Bologna. What to expect in the December points update. Genesis points update. What's coming next? Do you see what I mean? How all the cool articles and stuff they were doing to get support for the format just dried up. And now they just do an article when a YCS happens, an article when they're about to release points, and an article with the points update. I would like to see a little bit more insight into the stuff that they're doing, right? Like they were doing in September. But apparently they don't want to do that anymore.
I don't think I have to expound on it more than that.
Yeah, you want the big drawdown list.
Yeah, it is. I can't highlight it enough that that
They should
is
pay us
the
to blog
biggest
about Genesis.
frustration
They should.
from the community.
They should pay
I
me.
Hope I don't know if Konami's gonna like watch this or whatever, but I hope that they see that as the major frustration that people have, and it would drive a lot of interest. It would be a good update. It would be seen as like an olive branch to the community, because that's the biggest thing of feedback that people have. Like I can't stress enough that is just what I feel would make the format even more successful going into its second year.
Yeah, I think like the biggest softball obviously is like they need to get it on some kind of digital client, right? Like the that's like I don't think that's even like that much of like a
Considering LC only plays Yu-Gi-Oh through Master Duel, I'm not surprised that's his answer.
a point really. Like obviously it would be better if you could play it on Master Duel and you could actually like officially play Genesis, both for like the sake of content creators and being able to create content around the format more easily, but also just like for getting people into the
Well, again, if you get it on Master Duel, it won't be the Master Duel that people are playing in paper.
format who maybe like are fitting into one of those boxes that we talked about at the start.
Or it will
of
be the Genesis, I
of
mean.
the show,
Did I say
right, where
Master
it's
Duel?
like,
I
oh
think it's-
yeah, I am a lapsed Yugist, but I have a Master Duel account with the old cards that I used to like playing, and now the Genesis is there. I could go try it there, for example. I think that's like the biggest thing that they could do. It's like the single most healthy thing that could happen for the format. And what's interesting, I will note, like Magic the Gathering Arena did something kind of like this, where they created a pseudo version of the Pioneer format on Arena, where they didn't have all the cards yet, but they had most of them. And so they just created another format that was kind of like, the conceit was, look, this is Arena Pioneer. It's not quite what you want, but they could do something like that even and just say like, look, we recognize that maybe there's going to have to be like a couple of balance adjustments because we don't have absolutely everything in the client yet, but like we'll give you something at least so that people could at least start engaging with both the deck building process and the gameplay experience of Genesis.
I'd echo that. That was mine as well. Is it's got to get on a client. It is. I mean, it's embarrassing.
I'm surprised none of them are saying locals. Maybe they just, you know what it is? LC doesn't go to Yu-Gi-Oh! Locals, and I think both Peeps and MBT actually have Genesis locals. Outside of like areas, like, there's so many places that just don't have Genesis locals. But if you do happen to have one of the few Genesis locals, it's probably just not on your mind.
Myself and a whole bunch of other people are trying to make Genesis content, but like Konami doesn't like when you use non-official simulators, but there is no official way to play this game. Like nothing is up to date with card releases, and we are unwilling to do the arena style. We're not there yet, but this is sort of Pioneer thing with like the cards in Master Duel. So I don't know. I wish they would.
It's crazy because it's a softball too. Like it is just like such a way that you would like make sales by giving people something else
But they might play their old cards instead of buying the new cards.
to play. Like it's just, it would let people make content about the game. Content is ultimately what drives interest in like the modern day and age. Like this is how people hear about playing Yu-Gi-Oh! As they see videos. It's I don't
Who knows? That's Konami, baby.
From your perspective as somebody who is like a Magic player, hearing about the things that Arena does in contrast to what Master Duel does, it's like Arena's like an actual game. It feels like, Master Duel has had one game mode in its entire release state to this whole time. It's had ranked. Of course there's like solo mode, sure.
There's the
And
events.
there's like events that are, little fun deck building challenges, but largely it is just the one way to play.
If they want to build an alternate format for Yu-Gi-Oh, you have to make it playable everywhere. And
But like, do you want to know the reason why they're not doing this? It's because it's the same issue it always is with Konami. Konami is not one entity. Konami is like 5 different entities. It's not even Konami. The people who own Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like 5 different entities. There's Konami America, there's Konami Japan, there's whoever's running the Master Duel shit. There's fucking Suecia, there's Kadokawa, there's NAS, there's the Takahashi estate. Everyone's got a little fucking finger in the goddamn pie. It makes it impossible to do anything useful.
you have the most popular. I'm sorry, Master Duel is the best TCG client ever. It is beautiful. It's smooth. It moves like butter. It is just, it's all of its UI is like fantastic. Like it is just the best. Sure, I'm biased because I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player, but I've played other simulators. It's incredible. So if you want interest for this format to grow worldwide, put it in Master Duel. Program something, anything. Like God.
Duel Links has 3 permanent PvP modes. Like what the fuck
That's
are we
true.
doing here?
Seriously, like they have character duels, rush duel, and speed duel, right? That's what Duel Links has.
Yes.
What are we doing, bro?
And then they also still have their
it's
events
just
too.
Jaw drop.
Yeah, like
okay,
I mean,
go ahead.
Magic Online, a famously spaghetti code program, like added Pre-Modern and like Brawl this year, which are both community managed formats, and they just said, yeah, you know what, we'll add those to our officially supported client, no worries. It's like
People
it's kind
were
of
playing
crazy.
more Mir Vig on Moto in 2011. Like fucking hell.
Yeah, it might have even been even earlier than that. What shocks me, this is maybe too much of a tangent. I don't know how someone from Konami has not said to Doug, like, let's get Saga on Master Duel and convince people to buy 10 master packs and 10 secret packs to go play in an event. Like, they would just make infinite money getting people able to play Saga as an event on Master Duel and as a format. But that's a completely different topic.
And Konami's partnered with him. Like,
Yeah. But they don't want to partner with MBT.
oh, he does Saga. There's a reason they partner with him, you know? Like,
On that note, I do appreciate that you were able to come by and have a traditional Yu-Gi-Oh! Yap session that, like all, ended with us angry at Konami. But thank you both for coming by and talking about the first year of Genesis. I know that I am, obviously incredibly biased as to its success, but I hope that that things do continue to be good and get better in the future, because I do want something like this to exist in the space. Again, thank you both so much for coming by. LC, if people want to find you, where could they do it?
It's just on YouTube. I am remarkably challenging to find on other social media outlets. So it's my channel here at LC. It's ELCEE. And yeah, other than that, I'm not really on the Twitter or anything of that ilk.
Peeps, what's the deal with you, Peeps? It's like, if someone wants to reach you, all they have to do is have a bad opinion and like say it into the ether.
and I'll just show up at their door,
Yeah.
I'll crash through their ceiling. Yeah. I say this a lot. Anytime I get in a discussion about Genesis, is because it inevitably boils down to me like having a few specific complaints that I try to justify and harp on. But I do love it. I love this format a lot. I really wish people would play it more. And
Genesis,
yeah, I fully support.
Genesis is so good. The only reason I'm so like passionate and like I get upset about some things when Genesis is because I love it so much. I want it to succeed. So play it.
I think it is doing a lot of things that are going well, and I have a positive outlook for its future. So yeah.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Tristan, I'm so glad you told me that we can skip the Doug one, because it is 7:30. I would like to leave. I don't think we're gonna do Ruxin's Fry review. Hold up. Let me can we just skip to the end of Ruxin's Fry review?
They don't have a weird taste.
And see.
Quick winner. One winner, probably the best fry was the Arby's crinkle fry. I gotta say my favorite's still the Zaxby's fry. Okay. I know it's not the top. Still my favorite.
I've realized see a crinkle fry and I'm like, okay, we're safe. And who's better, White Castle or Crystal?
That was the most important
Everybody's
question.
been wondering. We did it.
It's
We
been
found it.
answered. Now you don't ever don't.
Do they not
No.
show me the funnel list, fucker?
I just took out.
There it is. Here it is. Here it is. Okay, so his final list. Wait. Which one's Mike? Is Ruxin Mike? Or is Ruxin Phil? I don't know. Who's who? Phil. Okay. He does not have a goat whatsoever. No greatest of all time for him. Crazy. Arby's crinkle. Not curly. Crinkle. I have not had Arby's crinkle cut fries. I don't know. Zaxby's? He's kind of spitting. Zaxby's is really fucking good. They got good fucking fries. Okay, Taco Bell fries, I don't give a shit. Curly fries, I would put these up in S. They're pretty fucking good. I really like the Arby's fries. Sonic fries, A, sure. Popeyes, A, sure. Freddy's, sure. Jack in the Box, I don't like Jack in the Box. Their fries are probably fine though. It's been a while. I want to go to Raising Cane's. I have not been to a Cane's yet. Cookout. Is he? Where is he at? Where is he? Thought Cookout was pretty regional. KFC fries. These are the fries and not the potato wedges, are they? Because the potato wedges are S. The potato wedges are fucking S. Texas? Okay, I could see Cookout being in Texas too. That seems reasonable. Hardee's, B, sure. Five Guys, B. Really? Five Guys at a B? Okay, you know what, actually? Five Guys fries are really wet. I love the Five Guys fry bag. It's the only thing I can actually eat. I don't eat beef. So the only thing I can actually eat at Five Guys is the fry bag. Oh, Kentucky, that makes even more sense, actually. Yeah, Kentucky makes a lot more sense. But the fact that you just get the huge fucking bag of fries, it's so good. The secret with Five Guys, though, they are really soggy. So you can crisp them up yourself. You can take those babies and put them in the oven and crisp them up yourself. There's no law against it. Chick-fil-A should be an F tier, honestly. I think Chick-fil-A is one of the most overrated restaurants of all fucking time. Not to mention their homophobia. What is that one? Island Chickens? What the fuck? Slammin' Chickens? What the fuck does that say? I don't know. Don't know it. Whataburger. I actually haven't had it. There's one that opened up near us recently. I don't know. Jack in the Box normal. Jack in the Box at the C seems reasonable. Tennessee makes even more sense, Tristan. Tennessee makes even more sense because there are fucking neighbors. Cookout, I thought, was a regional North Carolina thing. Tennessee, they're right next to us. That makes sense. Wendy's fries. I actually quite like Wendy's fries. They get the sea salt on them. Pretty good. Culver's, don't know anything about it. Burger King. A while ago, I would have said they had probably an A. I don't know if they've probably deteriorated since then, as all things at Burger King have. But when they first changed their fry recipe, I really liked them because they double fried them, which was nice. DQ at a C. Why are you going to DQ except for to get ice cream? You shouldn't be getting fries at DQ. Captain D's. Gross. Steak and Shake. Nazis. McDonald's D. Correct. McDonald's fries are good for about a second. And then they are nothing. Then they are cardboard. White Castle F. That's funny. Crystal. Never heard of Crystal ever. They must be really terrible. If they're getting below White Castle. Shame that he doesn't. Does he not have a bow? Dude, okay. Tennessee has to have a Bojangles. What are we doing here? Can I do this safely? Yes, I can. Yeah, there's Bojangles in Tennessee. Come on. Why didn't you do the Bojangles? I love Bojangles fries. Maybe he didn't want to do seasoned. Maybe the seasoned fries were too much for him. Like they're like too different. They'll obviously get an S because they're seasoned, right? They might even get a goat because they're seasoned as opposed to just salted. Crystal has these little sliders and the saddest little things ever. Oh, that's crazy. Is Crystal like? Is Crystal just like cheap White Castle, which is like saying something, right? I gotta say his list isn't like nothing is about this list is shocking to me, really. Maybe the Taco Bell being an A, but they are like there's some okay. Even the Taco Bell ones are supposed to be like taco seasoned, right, or something. They're seasoned. So why didn't you do Bojangles? That's so confusing to me. But yeah, none of this is particularly surprising to me, except for the Five Guys and maybe the Taco Bell being so high. I imagine the fries are basically the only thing at Captain D's that's relatively edible. And I guess the beef tallow is not really doing Steak and Shake much favor, huh? The RFK's Make America Healthy Again stuff didn't work for them so well, huh? Oh, God. I just want to scroll through YouTube for a second. It's a new CarPG video. We might take a look at that at some point. Jesus Christ. LC has been collaborating with everyone recently. LC, get on the pod. I will gladly yap about Yu-Gi-Oh with you. Maybe I should like reach out. Do you think? How do I reach out to LC? They added like DMing to YouTube, didn't they? Could I use that? He's only got a link to a Patreon. Email address. We can email him. I might try and do that. We'll see. I would like to get LC and like Golden Nova or Out of Characters on something. I think that'd be a good. We could have a good discussion. All right, I think that's it from me. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Zempirian on YouTube and Batchy's Library for my Yu-Gi-Oh reacts and my Yu-Gi-Oh video essays. Thanks for watching, etc., etc. Exclamation point socials in chat will get you the links to all those through my website, zempirian.neocities.org. Real simple. It's a cool website name. All right. I'm going to send you to someone else now. Who shall I send you to? Will you try the Naruto card game that people say is like Yu-Gi-Oh? No, because I never watched Naruto. I have absolutely no connection to Naruto at all. Wise. They call him the Pump King, Hardleg Joe. All right, let's send you over to Hardleg. Hardleg's playing Pump King. Should be fun. Have a great time over there. Oh my god, he's got a lot of people over there today. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. When you get over to be kind and courteous, as I'll ask you. With that said, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.